water control in the park, even though it's all floodplain, we talked about before. There's the park's input. So we get, why is it being increased? That's anybody's guess. Maybe you have an answer. 4,000-year rains, I don't know.
Yeah. So that's what I'd be looking for, is why is it increasing?
So maybe they have a off-the-shelf answer. I'm not sure. So you can give us a snapshot of that, I suppose. Bill? My question is, we can't add it unless it's cost neutral.
Yeah, I mean, we'll include it in our proposal for that item, so.
Very good. Okay, anything else? Any additional amendments? Hearing none. Minutes, April 29th, 2025, regular meeting. Take action.
I move to approve the April 29th regular meeting minutes as submitted.
Second. Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call. Laura, you going to do the roll call? Ron, you going to do it?
Ron, yes.
Ron?
I got it.
Okay.
Steve?
Yes.
Doug?
No doubt.
No, I'm sorry, Ron. Doug's not here.
Okay. Fritz?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes. Bring us to item number 6, bills. General and stormwater funds, April 29th through June 3rd, 2025. We'll take action on that.
I move to approve the bills to be paid from the general and stormwater fund from 29 April through 3 June as submitted with the signing of our checks.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes. Okay, at this time, we'll entertain public comments. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public comments?
Wanted to know if you made a decision on renaming the roads in Freedom Credit Road to new sections.
I need your name, please.
Deputy Closman, 624 Freedom Credit Road.
Well, I have not personally made a decision. It's on our agenda tonight to make a decision. So, I guess the board will make a decision tonight at some point.
I have a few comments. I hope that you will take into consideration the fact that I've lived there on that road in the same house, obviously a tax-paying citizen of Sewickley Township.
Yep.
This year is 50 years, which I imagine there's probably a lot of people in this room that have lived on the same road in this township for 50 years. I obviously I've looked around, or did some investigation and seen there's a lot of names in New Sewickley Township, first and mostly last names. I've counted a minimum of 72, including both Bonzo Road and Bay Road. Like I said, I hope you would take that into consideration.
Your preference is for which one?
Catherine Lane, Catherine Street, Catherine Circle,
We'll address that when
Catherine,
it comes up.
whatever. I have a few more comments.
Right.
I wanted to ask you if it's appropriate. Let me ask you this: are you related to Willis, my neighbor?
All Bonzos are related, yes.
Okay, I figured that. Do you consider it appropriate that you, as a supervisor, voting on an issue that affects me and Willis, appropriate, or should you actually recuse yourself from voting on that?
So you don't actually have to, unless you so desire, but the Pennsylvania Ethics Code for public officials doesn't require you to recuse or otherwise abstain from a vote unless there's some sort of pecuniary interest involved.
The money exchange.
I have, like I said, obviously my preferences. In lieu of that, if it's going to be an issue, that I have a couple other suggestions. One would be, to me, this would be a simple solution. I would prefer my choice, but this would be, again, a compromise. Freedom Crider Road extension. So it would just be Freedom Crider Road with the additional of 3 letters and a period, or dot. Freedom Crider Road extension, which essentially it is, an extension. hopefully we would be able to keep our same house numbers. Willis, obviously, I wish I was in his position. He has a driveway that if he chooses to, which is what I would do, rather than change my address with literally hundreds of businesses and people, move his mailbox to the main road as Timmy Baker. In fact, that would be very close. If I may just briefly, in lieu of that, those, like I said, my first choice, my second choice would be Freedom Credit Road Extension, which I think would be a good second choice. I don't like the idea of Wallace City Road. I've had an incredible number of missed deliveries during this 3-year construction period. It's been an experience. I'll give you an example. I've had over 100 failed deliveries in less than a year from Amazon alone. A lot of those packages I never did receive because the people they would not pass the road close signs. I could go on for that for probably an hour, but I won't. In lieu of that, something like Maple Road, a generic name, Maple Lane, Maple Street, Oak, there's a lot of oaks and maples on my property. In fact, one of my favorite ones was cut down during this construction project. But something generic like that, rather than, like I said, I don't like the idea of Wallace City Road. I just think it's kind of misleading. There is no road to Wallace City. Wallace City is not there anymore. Most people probably don't even, nowadays, I do since I'm a resident, aware of what Wallace City was at one time. But like I said, I would, in lieu of those two, I would prefer something generic. Like I said, Maple Road, Maple Lane, Oak, something, whatever. There's other options, but I would like to be considered the fact that I've been in this township. And on that road, probably the longest resident between the roundabout and Rose Run, as far as how long I've been there.
Understand. We try to keep our comments to 3 minutes. And I
Okay.
understand just how
Okay.
important it is.
I appreciate it.
So we'll try to keep that in mind. And just off the cuff, we had talked about Wallace City being too long a name anyway. It's in the wrong location. But just so you know, all the names have to be first approved through our emergency services. So that there's no matching ones, no close ones in the cranberry, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get to that at that time, but just bear that in mind. They all have to be approved.
Okay.
Emergency services.
I understand.
But I feel when you're changing like that, you can't get deliveries, and Amazon's bad as it is. So
You have no idea what.
FedEx, all that. So I feel for you. So that's why I give you a little bit of depth there. But on the same token, we have an obligation to do so. Any other comments? Go with our Girl Scout over here.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Jenna Klein, and I put a packet in front of you all so that you can go with me. Yours is on. Yeah. So I'm working on my Eagle Scout project on the Upper Green Valley Trail, and in my packet that I have for you, I'll be starting on the second page for background information. So it's going to be inside the woods. I plan on having a natural layout. The heavy-duty machinery will be needed, and it will be completed by the Township road crew. There will be shovels, rakes, safety gloves, and glasses will be purchased for us to use whenever we have to clear any small branches or anything from the trail. And you will have food and water provided. But as of now, I'm on the second page for start of the trail on the back. We have placed markers of the trail, and there are a lot of trees and brush, and as spring has come, more and more have grown. So for our markers, we have 2 that we could not have laid out because we physically could not get to them, and someone wanted us to flag the trees so that they can take a walk through it, but that is physically not possible because we had adult leaders, and kids fall while trying to walk the trail to place markers for ourselves. And we have yellow flags in between wooden markers that we have placed to tell where the trail will be laid out. And I have a picture of the trail on one of the pages, on the third page. And I hope to get this project approved by June 15th by like everybody. Like we're trying to work with like the rec board to get this all done so that we can have a trail up in the Upper Green Valley. But my first sign off to start this project is by the beneficiary. Yeah, which is like the township. But you guys can take a look through this for more information.
Okay. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing the effort. Let me get a couple of things straightened out first. And this is the first time we've seen a plan like this, so it can't be done by the 15th of June. It's impossible. So for us to approve something like this, it has to go through our engineers, through our legal, our road crew. We have to decide how much we're going to do of this. I mean, first of all, nobody gave any approval to do any layout. We knew something was going on, but we didn't know what. This is the first time we've got to look at anything. So what I would suggest is we'll have our engineer take a look at it, but we're not in the business. I wasn't anticipating going up there cutting trees or having a road crew cut paths. That's not the intent here. I was never made aware of that. So if it's too steep to walk, we shouldn't be doing it because there's environmental issues. There's all kind of, we don't want to create runoff problems and the neighbors below. So we have to look at this very carefully. So we appreciate the effort, and it's a good thought. We talked about this before. I think before you were involved, or maybe you got it involved because it had come up before that nobody's ever brought forth a plan. So the next step would be to get the rec board, the recreation board involved, to get their approval, because then they would bring it to us.
Yeah, they are involved. Like we've been.
Well, we need to have a little more than just a plan, and the rec board just knows about it. I understand somebody from the rec board is with you. That's not the leader of the rec board. So we need to do step by step, process by process. And we can't do anything until the board is very comfortable with what's going to happen up there. We don't want to destroy the side of the hill up there.
Yeah.
We're not going to send our road crew up there with backhoes and skid loaders, and we're not cutting into the slope. That's a big misconception I think I heard somewhere. So we need to understand this. I appreciate you bringing this in. We'll look at this. Whoever engineers look at it, we'll get recommendations. That's as far as I can commit tonight. Okay?
Yeah.
So you need to take it to the rec board and get them on board with what you're doing. And they understand a little further what they got to do to bring it to the board. Okay? Very good. Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah, of course.
Your name's Joanne, right?
Jana.
Jana.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, like Martin was saying, appreciate you making us take the time to create the layout and the PowerPoint. If I could make a couple suggestions, and they kind of go along with what he was saying, like a 4-foot wide trail is kind of ambitious. I don't know if you're familiar with like Brush Creek trails or, so they have like, they're basically like game trails with, maybe a little gravel sprinkled on them, maybe it kind of went in there, but they're just very small trails that just sort of just wander through the natural landscape, and in some areas they were cut into the hillside. I'll say that, but there's a lot of other trails that I've been on, like Brady's Run and what have you, where they're more natural. Some of them are more challenging, and that go, right up the hillside. This is on a pretty good grade, so I would just recommend trying to find a solution or a path that wouldn't require as much effort. Like maybe start trying to follow some game trails or something like that.
We, as a rec board, we preferred a natural base, so that's probably why that's what she's going with that.
Yeah.
So that's the board preferred that. So.
Well, that's great. Yeah. But I just want to encourage you to keep going on with this.
It's not a no, it's just we need to have a lot more information.
Yeah.
And maybe dial it back a little bit with the 4-foot path, maybe like a come-off-foot path or something like that.
What we don't want to see is a big cutoff, like a level road and a big bank. It's not completely fall over. It creates a maintenance problem. You need to kind of stay with what's there as much as possible. I'm envisioning maybe you could even ride a mountain bike across something like more of a game trail, like Steve said. Kind of an enhanced trail, but you see what we're saying? We can't get too involved with it. It's too steep. It's very steep. We'll leave it at that, and you get it to the rec board, and then they'll bring it to us. And you're welcome to come with them too. I'm just saying that's the step. It needs to go through that. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Still on public comments. Yes, sir.
My name's Tom Pfeiffer. I live at 531 Pioneer Lane. And first of all, I'd like to comment on the Township's new website. Awesome. It's fantastic when it gets finished. It's much easier to look at, find information, and keep up the good work where it's working like that. Okay, I've got really two questions here tonight. A couple meetings back, there was a comment made about the flaring at one of the gas facilities, and I didn't think anything about this any further until my wife and I were traveling to vote on election day. Between our house and the fire hall, 2.5, 2 3/4 miles, we passed no less than 8 tankers. Whether they were going to speed limit or not is another point. That's not my real concern. I know when they're coming this way from Big Sewickley Creek Road, they're supposedly bringing fresh water, etc. My concern is when they're going back up there, whether it's the sandbox or the water tankers, they're leaking stuff all over the road. And when they stop at the stop signs or the red light, it just looks like somebody opened a real faucet. So if that's something that came out of the wells afterwards, it's been used many times, is that something we need to look at as far as chemicals, something that could be dangerous to the public at large?
That should not be something that's been used. That should be fresh water.
Going that direction toward the freshwater tank?
It should be fresh water because when they pull out the used water, they're using different equipment to pull it out. That shouldn't be dropping water.
So it's a different tanker of some sort?
I would imagine.
On site.
If they're
It's supposed to be
using,
on site.
yeah.
Okay, well, that was our concern about that, my wife and I. And the second point was that in the concern of the health and safety of all the citizens in the township, which is what I read into looking at the actual oil and gas ordinance, my question is, since it was approved December 12th, 2012, or in the month of December 2012, I couldn't find anything more recent, so my question is, have you guys given any consideration, any thought into reviewing that, since there have been a lot of changes in the industry since then? Thank you.
We haven't thought. We didn't know that there was any outstanding issues we should be looking at. Maybe it should be updated. We can talk about it. I mean, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
I think we should look into what's coming out of those trucks. Just be safe. We should maybe look into that for us and see if there's anything other than fresh water coming out of them. Those trucks, if they're stopped. Certainly check on that. Good check on that. Go ahead.
They're actually hauling fresh water from the Fritch farm to Big Sewickley Creek to a water storage holding tank. So it is fresh water coming from New Sewickley to Economy currently. So.
Could be sand stuck in a valve or something. It's maybe not. quite closed.
Right, yes.
There's
But it
also
is,
caps they're supposed to put on there, maybe they're not putting the caps.
it is fresh water though.
Very good, thank you. We can verify that, that'll give, Chief can send somebody with it, at least make them know that we're looking at it. Sometimes that's a big deterrence too. But they're supposed to keep everything on site that they're pulling out. And evaporate, and then they have other, they're like square tankers.
Yeah, I think we saw the name on them called the Sandbox.
Yeah, yeah. They're supposed
Flatbeds hauling around.
But you never, don't put anything past anybody, so it doesn't hurt to check. I appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, sir.
To elucidate your point, I heard that, and I hadn't seen anything. They're saying, I'm coming home going up Dunlap Hill, and I was following one of the larger trucks, and all the way up from the traffic circle, I saw this water go underneath. Then when they get up to the top, I usually turn out, I'm going to follow it. But then when they stop and start, it really flushes out. So there must be a bottom drain. It isn't closing tightly or something, but there definitely, you can see trails of water right up the middle, and it splashes. And somebody would get, I guess it would hurt your car if you did it, but it's kind of hard after you came from the car wash to get your car all dirty.
I think it's worth checking.
Yeah, there's something. There is something.
Any other public comments?
Art Engel, 425 Pine Road. I do have a comment regarding the website as well. I understand this has been in the process for quite some time, and there's still some outstanding technological updates happening. I do want to confirm that there is or is not going to be a municipal authority section on that page, as there was on the previous website.
Will be kept exactly how it was on the website.
Which, in terms of a definition, is that an
There was-
will they be
Yes.
adding their agendas to that? And can we
No.
please make some considerations to have a section for the municipal authority and the rec board to add agendas and minutes from meetings?
I don't think we can put that on the same website. We talked about that once before.
If we could just look into that again, I'd appreciate it while we're going through this updating process and what the legalities would
But I don't think
entail.
it's possible to do with commingled websites. They don't have their own. And we talked about this.
And secondarily, the logo on the website was the looking forward, respecting our past, approved by the board. Or can I get a definition as to what that means to you all and where that creation came from? Out of curiosity. Was that chosen by the township? Was that chosen by the web design company? Was that something that we're proud of? Is that something that was going to be on the flag? Is this the township logo that we've adopted?
We haven't adopted anything. I'm not aware of how that came about. But I'm not opposed to it.
And what does respecting our past mean to you?
I'm not gonna get into all that.
Okay.
I think you know what respect for the past means to me. We talked about this at length before, we're not gonna drag it up again.
Well, it's from my comments, and I'm just asking
Very good.
questions,
I
so
appreciate your comments.
I appreciate it.
Anything
Thank
further?
you. That's all.
Very good. Thank you. Any other further comments or public comments? Any MS4 comments? Very good. Administration, Treasurer's report. Submitted for our information. Item B, repeal ordinance number 139, regulating political signs. Take action.
I move to advertise to repeal ordinance number 139.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
I thought that was going to be just a resolution.
Yeah, this is an ordinance, so you have to repeal it with another ordinance. It's really, I'm not part of the general assembly.
Motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Yes.
Steve. Fred.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Barton.
Yes. Proposed fiscal procedures policy workshop request. July 8th, 9 a.m. for 6:30 p.m. Discussion. We have a workshop scheduled for July 8th. The question is 9 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. for fiscal policy workshop.
I have a commitment, and I prefer to come along.
I'd rather do 9. Anybody else?
I'm with you.
I think we can kind of alternate then.
Okay, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock it is. All right, hot topics tonight. Select the road name for Township Road. Take action on Township Road number 1. Ron, which is road number 1?
It can be either or. There's two of them. You have one that has the objections to it, and the other one is Crows Run Heights Road.
That's right.
There's
Cruz
two loops. Yeah.
I guess it's our choice between Catherine.
Catherine Drive or Circle,
Yeah.
or Lane.
Yes, this, Wallace City. I don't think Wallace City is really. That's really good.
Can't ring my bell.
That's when we talked about.
Chief, did you look into any of those?
So there is a Catherine Drive in Conway. Some of the other names mentioned tonight, we already have a Maple Lane and an Oak Drive. Freedom Prairie Road extension may be the best option. We have a Park Quarry Road and a Park Quarry Road extension.
I think it'd be the best option because then you just do an EXT.
I personally don't live there, so I don't want to
Yeah,
force that on anyone.
We
You
tried to
said
make it accommodating, but the easiest one would be just EXT done.
Well, like I said, my first choice would be obviously Catherine. That was, thinking about this as a compromise, I think that would probably be the second best choice. And hopefully, if Willis decides to keep the mailbox and not move it, we'll be able to keep our house number, so it'll be a simple change.
Be a real simple change. Probably save your Amazon delivery.
That, we'll talk about that sometime. I have a lot of horse
Hopefully it gets
stores.
better.
A lot of horse stores.
Any objection to the extension?
I don't object to extension. I guess just to stay with this first choice, if Catherine Circle,
That would be
since
great.
there's a Catherine Drive, I think Circle kind of is a pretty good differentiator. That would be my suggestion for differentiator to go with your first choice.
What if, because there is, and I'm just saying this is maybe an option, I don't totally know, but, if there's an option with, or an issue with one of those options, having a backup isn't a bad idea in terms of like the EMS that can like bring a whole like to the road. So I don't feel it hurts to have to be a backup option.
Yeah, I think the Catherine Circle and then the Freedom Prairie Road extension.
But how about this, Mr. Kuzma?
Yes.
Following the history of so many, as you brought out, people that had names, what's wrong? You said you lived here 50 years, why not? And then your wife might have to have you, but how about just Kuzma Drive or Kuzma?
Well,
that plays into, they can cross-file. Kuzma, they're looking for Kuzma family, it's on their mailing slip, that would make it easier.
I thought
my
about
impression.
I thought about that, but I thought, I don't know if that would be, although I looked through, like I said, a lot of names today online in Sewickley Township, and obviously a lot of names in Sewickley Township, a tremendous amount of names are based on somebody's last name. And obviously, one of the positives with that would be, you're not going to find a road like that probably anywhere, maybe not even in Pennsylvania, by the way, surrounding areas. So I would.
To your point though, what those names mean is where you ended up. So when you went to Bonzer Road, you ended up at the Bonzers. You went to Ziegler Road, you ended up at Ziegler's.
That's what I was thinking.
So
Going to Kuzma's.
You're going to Kuzma's.
That would be acceptable with any choice like that.
There's not another Kuzma Road, right?
Well, like I said, the whole point with Catherine, my wife's Catherine, she's unaware of this. She's not aware that I'm here. I had to make up a story last month when I was here, why I wasn't home when she got home from work. You know, I didn't know a couple of people that are even aware of this, but I just thought it would be a great surprise to her for me to tell her
I'm not opposed to it.
this is the name of our new road.
Let's see.
Pardon me?
Let's see it.
See?
See, or Kate.
Well, that's yeah, her name, Catherine. That would be, like I said. I'm just, my point is, like I said, it would be a great honor and surprise to my wife if I could tell her this is the name of my road.
But she's also a Kuzma.
Of course, yeah, that, like I said, yeah.
Hey, that's part of you, brother.
Well, she's been for 50-some years, so we're doing pretty good now.
I guess give us your top two choices, and you know, run with them. How's that sound?
Catherine again would be one. Circle again, that would work as you know you could go up, just go around in circles.
Yeah, it has to have a circle.
Anything to do with her first name. This is for her. I didn't want to throw my last name in there, and I realized that would kind of eliminate any issues with, you know, like I said. Well, fortunately, everybody has, including Amazon, my house down there.
Willis might not like it.
Well, yeah, that's true. But like I said, if I were Willis, I would move. And Timmy Baker, as you mentioned last meeting, his mailbox is at the end of his driveway, which is very long.
Yeah, he may have already moved it. I don't know.
It's still there. As of today, it's still there. But that saves him from changing it. Like for me, I dread changing.
For me, I would try to make it as simple as possible. Like the EXT, or your mail, or your checks, I mean, everything.
Well,
you could break that real quick.
But either one of those is simple. I mean, obviously, everybody that knows us knows my wife's Catherine.
But you're going to have to line it up.
Everybody knows my last name.
You just want to write your wife's name on it.
Well, like I said, it would be a nice surprise for her.
Okay.
But like I said, I would, that would be my first choice. Any place.
Second choice?
Second choice would be my last name, if that's acceptable to you. Third choice would be.
Fire diamond.
Pardon me?
You can go with Kuzma. I'd like Kuzma. I mean, whatever you want.
First choice, Catherine Circle. Second choice, Kuzma.
Okay.
That's what we're going with. Okay? Any objection?
I have one question. Has the new road officially been changed over to Freedom Crider Road? I mean, it used to start at the split up there and go down over. That was Freedom Crider.
So that portion still is Freedom Crider at the top where it meets Lodi. And once you get to the bottom of the hill, Crows Run Road goes to your right, and Freedom Crider goes to your left.
So, what's that between the boulevard and that intersection?
It's still Crows Run.
That's
Or,
still
it's
called Crows Run?
Sorry, Freedom Crider.
So, but there's two Freedom Crider roads now.
Well, now, when you come down Freedom Crider, the new section, you turn right to go up the hill to Lodi. It's still considered Freedom Crider.
It's not an extension. Clarify. Okay. Catherine with the C. It's Catherine Circle.
Catherine.
Okay. And then backup is Kuzma.
Kuzma, whatever, drive.
You spell that for me,
KZM.
All right. Takes care of Township Road number 1.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. That's true.
I move that we make it Kuzma Drive or Kuzma Extension.
Mr. Cal can't see.
Yeah, I know, but Kuzma.
Back up, Mr. Kuzma.
I know the name Kuzma. Sorry.
I move the name Township Road 1, Catherine Circle, and as a backup, Kuzma Road.
If there's an issue
Second
with
choice.
EMS.
If he finds there's a problem with Catherine.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute, I'm confused here.
Yeah,
Fritz got a motion.
I thought I had a motion that it dies, there was no second.
Or is there a second?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And you put a motion.
So we have two motions.
We have two motions, nobody seconded.
I honestly don't care much.
Well, I think we should go with President. Catherine Circle.
Okay. I'll second Catherine's circle.
The backup is good.
For the backup.
Let's vote on that first.
Let's vote on that one. Your motion died.
Why did I put the motion? I've got it.
Shot down again. Shot down again.
All right. Clear on that? Any additional questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Britt?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes. Okay, that takes care of road number 1. Move to Township Road number 2, which is, the only name we have is Crows Run Heights Road. The only one?
Correct.
Correct, okay. That's the only one we have, that's what we have to go with.
I move the name Township Road number 2, Crows Run Heights Road. No backup.
Motion and a second, any questions or comments? Roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Britt?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
Martin?
Yes. Takes care of our road name. All right, creation of a township flag. Go ahead, Mike, you want to...
Yeah, when we go to the PSATS convention, the first morning, there is a huge meeting of all of the people there. And it may amount to 600 or 700 people. It's a huge room. And the first thing they do is they call the townships out, and they come marching out, and they got a flag. And then the guy says, this is this township, this population, that kind of thing. And this goes on for the first half hour, but we don't have a flag to carry out, so I mean, no one notices except us, I guess, but I think it's a little embarrassing we don't have a flag, so, to carry out, so I'd like to see us somehow come up with a flag for the township here. I called it the Grange, but apparently they're not interested. She never did get back to me, so some other way that maybe we can. Patty was. You want to say that was the
Seneca
Valley, I believe. Yes.
The kids decided that they wanted to promote pride and fellowship and citizenry, and they got together and developed a flag, and they have all these activities. And I sent Lori the article was in Cranberry Eagle about doing it.
So I might have to do some type of contest. I just had a thought here, we used to have a banner. We used to get a township banner somewhere in there, just with the township banner. We never did a 4th of July parade with the township banner, just with the fire department. I guess it was always just.
Anyway, what I would like to do is start looking for thinking about a way that in someone. I mean, I would love to have it. I was hoping the Grange would take it on, and then maybe at the Big Knob Fair, as people went by, they could vote on it. There's 4 or 5 entries to pick out the one that most represents the township. But okay, I don't know if that's going to work. So as we go along, maybe we can find somebody who wants to do it, or figure out some of the key items that we want on the flag. I mean, we've got the Big Knob, obviously, and the Wallace City we talked about, and Doyle, and I don't know. I just like for us to start looking for it. Hopefully next year when we go out, Nori can get up there and see carry the flag up and down, and we'll all cheer and that kind of stuff.
All right, I'll try to come up with something.
Okay.
We're just.
We use the internet since it was something like us, I don't know, ask people in the township to their idea of their would that be too much?
I can only put it on the website. Well,
That's what I mean, the website.
That's pretty good. I guess somehow people.
You'd create some interest, people would maybe
See what kind of interest
Pride.
I guess 3 by 5, I guess.
Ideas.
Yeah, I think that's what's down there, 3 by 5, so these other 3 doors.
Probably would find somebody that would volunteer to make it.
Yeah,
I don't think it would cost us a project.
That'd be a pulling club.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's what we're talking.
We just need an idea.
Right.
We put the word on the first section. Okay. Brings us to item number G. Approve the solicitor and LSSE to create bid packets following projects. The manager to apply for funding through the Strategic Management Planning Program, the STAMP program, and draft a resolution or approve the projects by the STAMP program once they're approved. Take action.
I have a couple clarification questions, and a couple comments. The first question is, do we need to obtain a quote on what the bid package is going to cost? That's my first question.
I think that's what the first line says.
Yeah. You have to
Approve the solicitor and LSE to create bid packets.
You have to know how much
The
you're
manager,
asking.
we have, yes, so can apply.
You have to know how much you're asking. We have to know how much the project's going to cost.
Okay. So that is a quote on how much it is going to take to develop the rest of the item.
And we're hoping that the STAMP program will pay for that, yes.
So the second question is, in developing these items, specifically the first two, is this to develop for LSSE and the solicitor to develop like a job description, for example, or is it to develop the requirements for a job description, the policy to create a job description?
I think that's what the STAMP program does.
Right.
That's what we're asking. The STAMP program does.
Well, that's what I'm confused about. So what is the solicitor and LSSE, what is the work product that they're creating? Is that's an estimate on how much it's going to cost?
So that's, the first one is to have all policies regulating the recreation board bylaws, fundraising, and financial agreements with the youth organizations. What we're asking for is that we get bid packets so we can go to STAMP and ask them to help us pay for that information that is going to be done by the engineers and solicitor.
So that's how much to actually create a bylaw, the rec board bylaws, not the requirements for the rec board bylaws. But do you see where
Yeah, I'm not sure what STB requires. If they require more than just an estimate, or if they require like a description.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
Chairman.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yes.
Explain that.
I think everybody's getting confused by bid packets, so I spoke to Alexis earlier this week or yesterday and discussed what those projects are. So they're kind of like our in-house professional services, so we wouldn't really have to bid those out per se to other contractors. They can do that inside in-house projects, but what I would need is what the cost estimate that they would charge us to do this task, so I can apply for the STAMP program. Now I have information out to the STAMP program to see even if these will qualify. Now I know 1 and 2 will probably more than likely qualify. 3 and 4, it's going to get a little technical, so he had to go to his boss at the state to make sure they would go. So I haven't got a response back if the LSSD ones would even be eligible for the STAMP program.
Okay. So with that, I don't know who would be better suited to create the rec board bylaws than the rec board, because they already have bylaws. They're from 1990 whatever, and they're handwritten, but you guys found them.
Yeah, we found.
Yeah, and if you want to add anything to it, you should be able to pick and choose what you want to add to it. That's why I wanted to clarify if you were creating requirements for the bylaws or the actual bylaws. If you're creating the actual bylaws, I think the rec board should have input on what their bylaws are, and I think that they're more than qualified to develop those. And likewise with the fundraising, the financial agreements, and especially the park employee job description, I think that the staff has the skill set to develop that inside of the township without going to professional sources. The cost for the stamp program is the 50% match.
20% match.
It's 50%. I looked it up today. That's what they have on their website anyways. That's what else.
The trouble is with that, is if you're writing your own bylaws, you write them the way you want them to read. This would give us a neutral third party to write them and give us a professional development of what other rec boards and that kind of stuff, how they operate. When you write your own laws, you write them to your advantage. I think we need a neutral party here to do this.
I'm not opposed for a review. I would certainly welcome the professionals to review any of the documents that we create, because they bring a little more rigor to the organization. But I think the initial generation and legwork could be done by the staff.
I think the stamp program, that's what they do, is put these documents together. We can then take our input and put it back. We're not saying that can be the dual. I know, kind of like what we're doing with the fiscal policy. That came with the stamp. We're going to put our look at it too, so to make sure it fits.
Well, it's coming from, like, these guys would be the author of the documents. Is my takeaway right now is you would draft whatever portions you draft, and you would draft your portions. And the stamp program that was
The point is, it would be a very narrow scope. Maybe there's things that you're not even thinking about that the stamp program is going to bring to light. That you should be thinking about, would be in your bylaws, and would be in your scope of work. That's what we're looking for.
And that's where I think a review would add that to it, and it would be less of a cost.
We're going to ask them. They may not even do it, but we think they will. So we're going to ask them. And then we can add ours to it, because we're going to, same thing with baseball. We got a 1993 agreement with baseball. We need to look at that. And all this stuff's outdated. So with the park employee, there may be only certain things that we're thinking about that he needs to do. And there's a whole bunch of things he needs to be done.
Well, we should know what he's doing right now.
Well, I don't think any one of us can say what he's doing other than mowing grass.
And that might be fair.
Maybe
that might be fair.
Elaborate,
because I think that he does more than.
I'm just saying it should be looked at. That's all.
But how would these guys, how would anybody outside the organization know that? You would have to talk to
because that's what they do.
They would have to talk to the park employee and say, well, what do you do?
No, we're going to merge
He
the
works for us. We tell him. But I think an issue, correct me if I'm wrong, we have this antiquated plan, and different organizations came to you and started saying, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, if you had something written, say, wait, guys, section C, whatever, it has to meet these qualifications. You just can't come in, tear out a baseball dugout, put another one, and get Joe Bunda and his masons to come in and put it in. Does it meet this qualification? Is there electric wiring? And it gives you cover too, because then you end up telling people that want to volunteer and do good things, that do good things. They have to know that they have rules to follow just like you do. Are you meeting this criteria? Are you or are you not? Well, then you can't do it. And that gives you.
We would definitely welcome new rules and bylaws.
Pardon me?
We would welcome new bylaws and everything like that. I mean, the baseball, softball come to us, and
They think
We don't
because
have
they
no
have
out
the
to
money,
stop.
they can do it, right?
They have money.
Now, the trouble is, in 1993, there was an agreement between baseball and the township that basically said baseball could do everything over there they wanted to do, and all we would do is mow the grass, and that included building, everything we wanted, paying the electric bills and so on. And it's been going on since 1993. But this isn't, the world has changed greatly since 1993. And I don't think we can keep following that procedure safely for us. So I think it's time we look into it and come up with some new procedures here. And these people can look into it professionally and tell us what the rules should be. And then we can go back and say, hey guys, this is what our people say the rules need to be. We've got an outside person that's come up with these laws and rules, so.
Because it's free, doesn't make it right. Because as your point was, it's free. You know, the township said, we'll go ahead, it's free, it's not gonna cost us anything. But it could cost us an accident, someone getting hurt, not lasting, not being built properly.
But we just found in bylaws this year, and
So you've been on pretty.
since I've been coming to the supervisors, I've always been vocal about everything has to come through you guys, you know. And that's the first thing I tell anybody who wants to do something. We can give our approval if we like it, the idea of it. It's gotta be approved by you. I tell everybody.
We need to update all of this agreements.
Yes.
So that's why, Steve, we're looking at, have somebody else outside. The STEM program's looking at it through New Sewickley, because they've interviewed here.
And I honestly think that most of our board members aren't gonna wanna have anything to do with it. They'll read it when it's done and stuff like that. But like several of them say, we're volunteers. We're not paid
You gotta always
employees.
bear that in mind, you're right. But we still have to look to protect the township's interests
And I'm all
and
for it.
liabilities. We
I'm all
have to.
for
It
it.
can definitely be a clever process though. In the past, when I've done these types of agreements, there's a lot of back and forth between even, not just like the local government body, but also the other affected associations. There's like it's a very long conversation. And it's not like a simple one-page agreement, especially for these types of like, building or construction projects that associations want to do. I mean, like, that happens periodically where an association has been long using a park facility, and maybe it has a lease, maybe it doesn't have a lease, but there's a lot that goes into determining that process and how it's going to go, and then to memorialize that. It's not just like a one-page agreement.
I think another way to look at it is no matter what happens, Alexis has to defend the township. So we need to have proper agreements in place so that she doesn't have to work so hard. Right.
That would be great.
So we need to help her defend our position a little bit, and as we move forward. That's the reason we're thinking stamp program, get an outside look in, even though they've interviewed everybody here. We've had meetings with stamp program over the years. They've produced a lot of documents and given us a lot of insight that we normally wouldn't have had. So they've been a big help to this point. So it's a resource we can use. Why not use it?
So if I may also ask, I have two more questions. For number 4, for LSSE to design architectural plans and bidding procedures, installation of new dugouts, very bizarre. So my takeaway is they're going to design dugouts, right?
That's correct, yes.
So why are they being tasked to design dugouts when we can buy them off the shelf, so to speak, right? Like, I guess I'm not understanding why we're going straight to this. They're designing dugouts. We were at that meeting, and the baseball was proposing that they'll pay for the dugouts, they'll submit their drawings and what have you, and go through the process.
that's another whole thing that has to come through the board. We haven't seen any documents or drawings of anything submitted by anybody.
Right.
So we don't have our own. We don't have what the board wants down there, rather than what somebody might throw down. We have to look at our liability. We have to look at longevity. We have to look at, first of all, you only go digging down there in floodplain. It doesn't even drain. The reason that the dugouts are falling over is because of water.
Yeah.
Reason cause. So we have to design something that's going to last. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it right.
Well, they have off-the-shelf dugouts that, you know,
I have never seen a design of it.
Are you asking?
precast.
I think what he's asking is for plans suitable for like a building permit.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of like specs is what this would be.
So
This
this would be plans
What
for
would it cost?
building permits and essentially bid documents to put it out for public to
I
advertise.
don't even know if we need to go that extensive. We need to know what it would cost to do what we intend to do, so we can ask for the money to do it. Just like we're doing any other grants.
Right.
So I think that this needs to start with a conversation with these other associations to determine, to get everybody on the same page essentially. Because there's a lot of different ways that a project like this can proceed. One of them, and I think that's what Steve is getting at, and if I'm misinterpreting something else, but is the paperwork and all of the specifications and everything are generated by the third-party association, and then they carry it through the township process of code review and enforcement, or like zoning approval and things like that. They carry it through and they try to comply with all of our requirements, because they still would have to comply with those requirements. So they have the ability to generate those documents themselves, as opposed to the township generating the documents. That being said, the township could also generate the documents and then seek reimbursement for doing so. Or the township could generate the documents, and then, you know, we could just go from there, like just have something to start with. But there's different paths. So.
I hate to disagree. Maybe I'm not here. Maybe you complete the project before you don't get the grant.
Well, I'm saying
Can't get reimbursed.
we would have to agree ahead of time that they were going to be reimbursed, and then, like for instance, when my services are reimbursed by a third party, normally I send my bill to them, and so the money's not really coming out of the township pocket. Like they're paying for it up front, or I send my bill to the township, and then Lori would take it and send it to like that third party, and then they would pay it.
I think the way I'm looking at it here is we need a baseline. Like if we take our engineer, who's a trusted advisor, and we say, here's our baseline, this is what the dugouts are going to cost. If we take Steve's idea, we say we're going to get precast dugouts that can just drop in place, and they cost X. You know, here's the plan for fiber, or whatever we need. And we need footers or whatever, we can grade to that. We don't have, so we form a plan. But until we have a baseline to know what we're talking about, we can't use Steve's plans. We can't use Josh's.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there
You
needs
have to have a base.
conversation.
You have to know what we're doing, where we're doing it, and how we're doing it. You don't do anything without a plan. So that's my only point. We have to have a plan. We have to have something the community can get behind and say, we have a plan. We're going to do this. It's not going to have a problem again. You know, this is what we're going to do. So that's why we're asking them, just give us a breakdown of what it could cost. You know, if we did cement block again, or
Yeah, we would give you 2 or 3 different
the
options.
cheapest version would be vinyl plank.
Yeah, we could CMU block or have metal prefabricated.
A couple options, right? That's what we're looking at.
Or the option that, you know, the red board makes more sense.
And again, we go through the rec board because it's their deal. You know, make sure that they're on board with all this. And then the supervisors say yes or no. Once we have decided what it's going to cost, we're going to do it. Rather than somebody saying we have $50,000, and that's what it is. The president saying we have $50,000 we're going to spend. On what? How? Where? When? So that's all I'm saying. We got to
What were you gonna say?
I just had a quick question. You're discussing the ages of all these documents, and I know that there was an old park plan on, I guess it was the old website or something. When was that document created? And has it, I mean, we just keep doing
2017.
things, but we keep doing things at the park, are we following that plan?
No,
Or are we
that's
just
the whole
adding?
point, there's no
So-
red line plans anywhere,
So
there's
why
nobody
aren't we
knows.
looking to update that? I mean, there's programs that will pay for that, to update that plan for us. I mean, why aren't we starting there?
I didn't know there was a program to do red line plans.
Did you pass along those?
I will do that.
Yeah. That'd be helpful.
I mean, that might help some of this.
I mean, there's technology today that we never had before, we could find underground wires.
Yeah, but I
You know,
mean,
but-
instead of us just
But
doing
it used to be,
project after
the old way, if
project.
there's a problem, they called Leroy, he went down there, dug a ditch and they put it in.
Because I
That's
think
just the way it was.
I mean, it might
You
help
can't do that anymore.
too, getting funding if there's a.
Exactly, exactly.
I'll
You have
pass
to-
along. I'll pass
Very good.
along.
Thank you. So with that.
That's it. I got one more question.
Okay.
I apologize, but that's just what it is. With G, it says at the end here, and draft resolution for approved projects by state program. So, with the way that reads to me is that we're granting the bid package to be created, and we're drafting the resolution to execute those projects to be submitted to the stamp program for